So I want to show you something. I'm going to teach for a second because I really want people to understand the challenge that I'm trying to help you to overcome. And I want to make sure my audio is good on this. So I got my trusty microphone in front of me. So what I have before you is something that I've created. This is what I call, and I'm not putting a title on it yet, but I'm going to, let's just call it for the sake of discussion, the social conscious construct. This is what it's called, the social conscious construct. And what you're looking at here is a grid that I think all of us are on this continuum somewhere. At least when I say all of us, 95% of us are on this continuum. 95% of you watching is on this continuum. And when I say on this continuum, we fit somewhere along this line on this continuum. Now, before I explain to you where you fit on the line, I want to explain to you both the X and the Y axis. You see them here. I want to explain to you what that means. So somewhere along the lines, at the beginning of your professional career, at your business life, as a community leader, maybe you're just on the nonprofit association board, you may be in a position where you're brand new to leadership. And because you're brand new, you don't really have a whole lot of power. You also, as a brand new leader, don't know a whole lot. You're learning, but you don't know a whole lot yet. And so this is where it all begins for all of us, is right here at the crux of this social conscious construct. And what I want you to understand is that the longer you're in a leadership role, you go up this awareness ladder. So when I say awareness, is the longer you're in leadership, the longer you live, the longer you're on this planet, the greater the awareness that you should be gaining in life. We should all be growing and learning and growing. And so I believe that the longer you are a leader, the more you know, the more you should know, the more awareness that you should have, particularly about injustice that exists in our society. The more awareness you should get in your consciousness and the more socially aware you should get. So when I started as a 13-year-old, I was down here, but Public Enemy took me halfway up this ladder. Getting involved in community work and nonprofit work took me further the way up. Getting more involved in public service and politics took me all the way to the top of this chart. All the way to the top. Great awareness. And I strive myself to become more and more aware every day of injustices that happen around me. But see, there's a corresponding axis to gaining more knowledge and awareness. And that is this axis down here that's called action. See, when you first start out as a leader, you don't have much power. Because you don't have power, you don't have a whole lot of ability to take action. But the longer you live, the more you're involved in stuff, the more ability you have to take action. See, the greatest ability I had to take action actually was when I was working for President Obama in the Obama administration. When I became the regional director at HHS, there was 128,000 employees at the agency in the regional office. On top of that, 62 million people that lived in the region. It was 8 states, the largest in terms of number of states in the country. So I had the ability to make decisions or influence decisions that could have a great impact on the injustices that I saw. That's what leaders do. They do something about the injustices that they see. So again, you see, you got awareness and you got action. Action is taking action to do something about what you see. Now, here's what I want to show you is where everybody fits on this grid. Now, all of you fall somewhere in this social conscious construct. And let me start at the bottom with the 50%. See, the 50% right here, these are the people who I refer to as living in oblivion. Now, when I say living in oblivion, that means they don't know any better, so they don't do any better. They walk around and they don't see injustice. They don't even see anything is wrong. They're so happy about whatever they're happy about. They don't see injustice. They don't see anything wrong. They just think, oh, it's random that Ahmaud Mabry died, or it's, random that Tamir Rice. They may not even know who Ahmaud Mabry is, or who Tamir Rice is, or Eric Garner is. They don't even know any of those names. Why? Because they're living in oblivion. They don't even know that injustice has happened anywhere. They don't. There are people like that on your job, that they walk around and don't see the fact that there have been no women promoted in the last 15 years. They don't walk around and see that there's no persons of color in leadership, but 50% of your customers are people of color. They walk around and don't see that, the executives are getting all these bonuses and compensation, but you ain't had a raise in 5 years. They don't see any of that. They don't see it at all. They're just happy about life. As I said, they're living in oblivion. They are the ones who are watching Channel Zero. They don't see it. They don't know it. They're watching Channel Zero. And that's 50% of leaders in the United States of America. 50% of us are watching Channel Zero. 50% of us watch Channel Zero on election day. Voter turnout is never at 90 or 100%. Many times it's about 50% or 30%. So it's a small percentage of people who actually vote. And so what are the rest of us doing if we ain't paying attention enough to even go and vote? They're watching Channel Zero. And when it comes to injustice, there's so many people who's sitting right here in the 50%. But they're not the worst ones. I think they are very bad to be living in oblivion and not know the injustice exists. But it's hard to do something about things that you don't see. And there's a lot of people who don't see injustice. But if you move up this continuum, you now come to the 35%. The 35% are the people who I feel the most pain about. These are the people who see injustice. They know injustice exists, but they do absolutely nothing about it. They know right from wrong. They know inequity. They know unfairness when they see it, but they do nothing about it. But here's the sad thing. They make excuses as to why they can't do anything about it. They say, well, you know what? That ain't my problem. That's their household, or that's their department, or I don't live in Glenn County. I can't do nothing about that. I'm just trying to hold on right here. There's nothing I can do to change that. They are paralyzed, or as I like to say it, their paralysis is because of their analysis. They so focus on studying the problem that they don't even come up with a solution. And if they came up with a solution, they don't take action on that solution. And they make excuses as to why. I'm afraid. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't want to get in the mix. It's going to cost me more to get involved than it would be if I just let it go down. 35% of people see the injustice but don't do anything about it. They know better, but they don't do better. And if you go back to the civil rights movement, these are the people that Dr. King despised, or when I say despised, he was most troubled by the people who knew better but didn't do any better. And who are those folks? He called them the good people. More specifically, he referred to this as the silence of the good people. That people are good. People are right, just, and fair. They know right from wrong. But when they see something wrong, they don't do anything. They see people commit injustice, but they don't do anything about it. Okay? And when they do something about it, this is what Dr. King, they says they do. They mouth pious irrelevancies and sanctimonious trivialities. So they got words for it, but they don't take action. So they give words to it and they don't take action. It's like a lot of people who see stuff that goes wrong in our society or goes wrong on our planet, and they say, man, that's so wrong. You know, I stand with you. Standing with someone is about giving verbal support. Mouthing pious irrelevancies and sanctimonious trivialities. The injustice is real and it hurts. But the question is, what are you doing about it? Are you going to take action? Are you going to let your analysis of the problem give you paralysis? Because again, if you're on the social conscious construct, you have more awareness and you have a greater ability to take action. Notice where they sit. The 50% don't have much ability to take action, but the 35% have the ability to take action, but yet they do nothing. Now let me get to the third group, the 10%. See, 85% either don't know any better and don't do any better, or know better and don't do nothing. But the 10% are the most dangerous group of people. See, they have the most ability to do something about the problem. They have the most awareness about how complicated and ornate the problem is. They know so much. But you know what? This group of 10% intentionally doesn't do anything because they benefit from the problem staying wrong. Yes, they benefit. Sometimes they might make money. Sometimes they might benefit morally, benefit socially, benefit economically. They benefit from the injustice staying with us. These are the people that I call Darth Vader, or, the evil puppet master, the person who benefits from the injustice, the Bull Connors of the world. If you don't know who Bull Connor is, go look him up. There are people who benefit from everybody else's misery. There are people who benefit from the injustice. There are people who get on TV every time there's a shooting or some kind of violence against someone, and they have a lot to say, but you really never know how much they are doing to solve the problem. They might be benefiting. I'm not saying that they are, but they could be benefiting. There are 10%ers who take advantage of the society and they perpetuate Channel Zero. They perpetuate a Channel Zero culture. That's the biggest problem in America, is that we have 10%ers who exacerbate the injustice for their own gain. We have 35%ers who see it's wrong but do nothing about it. But we have 50% of the people who don't even see the injustice in the first place. They don't even see what's wrong, much less are willing to step out and do something to make it right. So there you have it. 95% of leaders in organizations, 95% of people in your community, 95% of people on your job, 95% of people on the Glenn County Police Department, Glenn County Commissioners, Congress, Senate, 95% of people fall on this continuum somewhere. I pray we just have a whole bunch of 50%ers who just don't know any better and need to be awakened to know better, like I was by Public Enemy. And I don't want us to have any 35%ers. And I surely want all of us to work to move the 10%ers out of the way. I want all of us to do that. Now, here's what I want you to understand. That you're doing the math the same way that I'm doing the math. 50% plus 35% plus 10% is 95%. that means it's 5% out there. And if you want to know who the 5% are, I want you to give me a heart right now. I want to make sure that y'all are paying attention and I haven't lost you. Because I know some people can't hang with this kind of content, and that's okay because it's good content. It's literally how I help organizations solve problems and challenges, how I help people to think through the complicated nature of what's going on. Okay? So it's 95% of the people stuck in the social conscious construct, or what I would like to start off the injustice cycle. 95%. So who are these 5%? Who are the 5%? Now, I know some of y'all who are hip hop inclined, who are my friends and aficionados, who may think this is a reference to the 5% nation of the gods and the earths. No. Much respect to them. I do know today's mathematics, but I'm talking about 5% of leaders. I'm talking about 5% of leaders who spend 100% of their time trying to make it right when they see injustice. 100% of the time. 5%ers are people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Winston Churchill. These are people who see what's wrong and they do something to make it right. They don't wait for somebody to tell them to take action. They spend their time working to take action to make it right. When people are stuck in the social conscious construct, they try to break them out of that paradigm. These are the leaders who see injustice, call it out, but work every day to make it right.